All right, calculus, we are back for part 2. Had a little error there. Anyway, video 1 should give you up to like 2B, I think. Anyway, I'll explain 2B again. Again, shout out to the coffee as our sponsors today. All right, so 2B, we saw those answers before. Because of the way we rounded the limit, as you know, we're approaching from the left and right, we're gonna get a slope there of 1/2. Then on C, I made a few boo-boos on C. F of 2 is what? 4? So I do 2.01, 1.99. I think I subtracted 2 instead of 1 and then squared it. Anyway, there's your two slopes. So that means your slope is going to be 2. Again, check these answers, and if they don't make sense, ask on Monday why we got them, please. All right, take a look at 3. 3A, interchange X and Y. You're gonna move 2 over like I did right there. Gonna move 2 over first and then square everything. Then you're just gonna subtract 3 and then divide by 4. So we're gonna write it as F inverse. 3, I will talk about 3B in a sec on a separate sheet of paper. First off, it's already written as y, so you're going to attach e as a base, and you're going to have e to the x equals y minus 2, and then simply add 2. You don't have to call it f inverse because it started with y, all right? Take a look at D. Here it is going to be f inverse. So write in f of x, we're going to write y, interchange x and y, attach natural log this time, do the opposite of c. Add 5 divided by 3, f inverse of x, natural log x plus 5 divided by 3. On E, it's very similar to A. You're going to divide by negative at the end. So y equals that. Interchange x and y. Subtract 1. When you subtract 1, you can immediately square. Again, you don't have to FOIL that. No big deal. Subtract 2. Divide by negative 3. And again, divide by negative 3. Don't leave a negative in the denominator. Instead, this is now negative. That's now positive. You should write it like that. All right. So let's take a look at then 3B. F of x is that, so y equals, instead of f of x, then switch the x and the, now you got 2 y's on the right side. We're going to distribute, or cross multiply there. We're going to cross multiply. So you're going to have x times y plus 4x equals 3y minus 2. I want to put the y's together. I want to avoid as many negatives as possible. So I'm going to move the 2 while subtracting the xy. So on the right side I have 3y minus xy. I'm going to take out the y they have in common. I'm going to divide both sides by 3 minus x. So f inverse of x equals that. You could also, if you would have moved things the opposite way, instead if you would have subtracted 3y from both sides, you should have that answer. So that is also okay. A lot of you do that in your homework and that's fine. So 3f, again, you can also have an opposite answer. You could have like 3x minus 5 over negative x minus 1. Y equals that, interchange x and y, then cross multiply xy plus 3x equals 5 minus y. Add y to both sides, subtract, yeah, I added y, then I subtracted 3x. Anyway, factor out the y and divide by x plus 1. That's your answer. F inverse of x is that. Again, if you've got any questions, look at this again, ask me on Monday. All right, here's number 4. Finding the exact value, folks. The exact value. So we're not going to write something, some of you in your homework still left something that's like log base 4 of 128 when it was, I believe, 3.5. So 3 to what power gives you 243? That's simply 5. If 2 to the 7th is 128, then 2 to the negative 7th is 1 over 128. That's just, natural log of e to the x is just x, so it's the exponent. So you need to write this as natural log of e to the negative 3rd, and then that rule works, okay? So first off, you could have, well, you don't know what log base 2 of 20 is, so that's why you should probably put them together. Again, subtraction means division. All right, and that's a 25 down to 75. So then, what is 8 divided by 20? It's 0.4. And then addition in the log road means multiplication, so 0.4 times 25 is 10. Well, log base 2 of 10, doesn't have a nice value, so we're gonna leave it like that. All right. You could say log of 10 over log of 2, that's also correct. Same thing, guys, we gotta put this e to the natural log of x just equals x, but we can't have a number on the outside, so we need to write this as an exponent. That's natural log of 6 to the negative third. So that means 6 to the negative third comes on down, which is 1 over 6 to the third, which is 1 over 216. I mean, this one's ready to go. Natural log of 6 to the second is just 6 to the second, which is 36. All right, that's just 1/2 power. The square root is the 1/2 power. That one's just pretty easy. Don't think about that one too much. The outside is the power rule, so that means it's natural log of 4 to the second. Just multiply those together. That's the product rule. Natural log 128. Just write it as a single log. Okay, addition and log rule means multiplication. Those are conjugates, so it's just x squared minus y squared. You're going to put that 3 on the outside as an exponent. So when you have subtraction, that's just the quotient rule. So x squared minus y squared is the numerator, while x to the third is the denominator. You can write it as that single natural log, as I have written right there. C, 1/4 is a power, so put that up. The fourth and the 1/4, power to a power, just multiply them together, so those go bye-bye. I should probably put the natural log there. Okay, that 2 on the outside becomes a power. Addition and log rule means product rule. And that's just messy, but that's what it is. All right, for C. And D, you had something like that on your homework. So 2/3 times 1 times 1, that's now going to be log 2/3 y to the 2/3. Same thing here. It's a power for both x and y. And then 3/4 is the power for x, and then 1/3 is the power for y. As I said, hashtag straight multiplication. That's the product rule. So when you're basically multiplying x to the 2/3 times x to the 1/2 times x to the 3/4, and so forth. Same thing with the y. So you just straight multiplication. When you have the same base, you're just adding those exponents. So 2/3 plus 1/2 plus 3/4 for the x, I believe, gives you, and I did the work over here, 23 over 12. And then that's what you do for the y's to get 3 over 2. All right, really take your time with that. And for number 6, I think I had this last year, made some boo-boos. Attach natural log to both sides. Subtract 3 divided by -2. Should really write it like that. On B, attach E as a base. Add 4 divided by 2. That one's pretty simple. If you guys have E, you can get rid of E, it looks like. And then I made a boo-boo, so change C to that. I'm going to write it here. Hopefully I changed it. I have a feeling that I did not change it on yours. So I'm going to write it on a separate sheet. You should. It looks like change part C to that right there. Okay, e to the 2x minus 7 e to the x plus 10 is 0. So then you get some of that factors, -2, -5. You get those two answers, natural log 5, natural log 2. If we want to talk about that again on Monday, it's no big deal. Then you can get rid of e. Let's take a look at F. Attach natural log to both sides. Divide both sides by natural log 3. And then add 2. Okay, that one's not too bad. And then number 7, I have all of 7 on a separate page. All right. This can't really work with sec inverse, so we're going to call it cosine inverse of the reciprocal 1/2. Everything, all the inverse functions are positive in the first quadrant. So Pythagorean theorem gives you √3, so tangent is opposite over adjacent, which is just √3. Tan inverse is positive in the first quadrant. So opposite over adjacent is 3 over 5. Pythagorean theorem gives you √34. We're going to call the hypotenuse the radius there. So cosine is 5 over √34. Multiply top and bottom by √34. There you go. On C, cosine inverse is negative in the second quadrant. Again, type in cosine inverse is -2 or 3. You're going to get an angle between 90 and 100. All right. It's actually was it pretty close to like 135? So you have adjacent or hypotenuse. So Pythagorean theorem gives you √5. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse, √5 over 3. On D, sine inverse of 5 over 6, first quadrant. Pythagorean theorem gives you an adjacent of √11. If tangent is opposite over adjacent, cotangent is adjacent over opposite. Well, the adjacent is √11, the opposite is 5, √11 over 5. Okay, I want secant of sine inverse 1/3. So first quadrant, opposite over hypotenuse. Pythagorean theorem gives you √8, which is 2√2. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, so secant is hypotenuse over adjacent. You get 2 over root 8, I'm sorry, 3 over root 8 or 3 over 2 root 2. Then you can multiply top and bottom by root 2. You get 3 root 2 over 4. Cos inverse, 4 over 5. That's a 3, 4, 5 triangle. So the opposite side there, the vertical side is 3. So tangent would be 3 over 4. All right, then you had 2 more that I told you to add as like a question 8. One of these, I promise, is on your quiz. So evaluate the difference quotient. Again, you might want to add this one in and practice it again. Evaluate the difference quotient for f of x equals negative 3x squared plus 5x minus 8 for f of x plus h minus f of x divided by h. So I would practice that. You plug in x plus h in for x, and then subtracting literally what f of x is. So there we go. We're plugging in. That first equation is, that first part is the f of x plus h. I'm plugging in x plus h in for x there and there, then subtracting 8. And the next part is literally minus, again, put in parentheses, all of f of x. So we're going to square, then distribute that 5, and then distribute that negative, and some things are going to cancel. We're going to see just right off the bat before I even distribute. Again, that's what's going on there. I lightly got rid of it. You should still see what's going on. Distribute that negative 3, sign change. All right, so the x squareds will cancel. Every term that's left over should have an h with it, okay? And then that's what we're left with. And as h goes to 0, we'd be left with negative 6x plus 5. All right, then boom. Basically, that's the definition of a derivative if you let h go to 0. So the same type of question, evaluate the difference quotient for f of x is 4x squared minus 7x plus 1. For f, this time we're like pretty much evaluating, you know, the derivative at x equals 2. Again, you'll know more of this very soon. So plug 2 plus h in for x. Remember, it's 2 spots you plug it in. So that's it right there. And then minus, even if it's positive, I'm putting in parentheses to show that, hey, that's the f of 2 part. F of 2 is 3. All right, so do some distribution. All right. Up top, that leaves you with this. The 16, negative 16 cancel. You're going to be left with what? 9h plus 4h squared. Yogi must have seen a square divided by h. All right. Yogi in the background going nuts. Sounds like a good time to end the video. This is Yak Math Video signing out.